What's up, guys? I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, the Zelda Dungeon video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question comes from Daniel Collison. Did you like Chancellor: The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks? Yeah, I actually did a lot. I mean, I've yet to play the game, and I know he was annoying, but from what I've seen of him, he just looks like such a cute, annoying little jerk, little creep. And it looks cute and annoying at the same time. Just my kind of character, so yeah, definitely. Jacob Buds asks, did you like the rolling idea in other Zelda games, and do you want it to appear in Zelda Wii? Yeah, I love the rolling. I mean, it's always in the Zelda games. I admit that if they took it out, it wouldn't change a lot. It doesn't really add a ton to the gameplay formula. I mean, obviously it lets you dodge enemies, but other than that, it doesn't really add much that's, integral, necessary. But I would throw an almighty fit if they took it out just because it's always been there and because I'm such a fanboy. Martin Glowacki asks, just recently, Miyamoto had an interview with a German magazine and he talked about Zelda Wii. He said previous games were too complicated and he wanted this one to be much easier. What do you think he means by easier? More accessible, maybe, or generally all around easy for casual gamers? I read the same thing. He also I remember he did state something about it being more accessible. He was saying something about, that the games have become too complex, And, well, I don't necessarily agree. I can kind of see where that idea is coming from, and maybe what they're thinking about is, taking out some of the unnecessary additions, the unnecessary things that kind of bog down the gameplay, and making a pure Zelda experience so, they can make it, easier for people to get into, but that way they could up the difficulty more easily. It wouldn't be as hard for them to do that while making the game accessible to people. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic because it could just mean that it's going to be easier. So, we'll have to see. There is hope that it will be harder. They could implement an in-game help feature to make it easier and more accessible for people, or they could do the second quest, so the first quest can be easy enough for people. That just because it's going to be easier doesn't mean it's not going to be challenging. They're not going to do it in a way where it can still be challenging for people. So I still have hope. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. Rylan G asks, do you think they will add 2 to a Zelda title and that will be the sequel name? Example, Twilight Princess 2. Oh, like Super Mario Galaxy 2? I think it's doubtful. The Zelda games have always been, like standalone tales, and that's how it's always been, and I don't really see them changing that and making a sequel to one of their games. Now that's kind of how the Final Fantasy games did, and eventually they started doing sequels, and the Mario games have done that too, so maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Nintendo's followed its own trends before. Maybe it will follow them this time, but I just think it's doubtful, especially with Zelda, because the games were always standalone storylines. That's why the timeline doesn't make sense. Yeah. Luke Collins asks, do you think that they are going to incorporate more hidden skills in Zelda Wii like they did in Twilight Princess, but have them utilize the Wii Motion Plus? I hope so. I mean, it added a lot of depth to the swordplay. You had all these cool attacks, and combat was just so much more interesting, fighting the enemies with all these new techniques you could do, and it just made you more of a badass. You could do all kinds of crazy things and take out enemies in new ways, and, maybe they'll skip it for this game because it has Wii Motion Plus. Instead of having the hidden skills to add depth to the swordplay, maybe they'll have the Wii Motion Plus instead. I still think it's likely that they'll still try to do the hidden skills, just because it's sort of, so far at least, looking like this game is going to be a lot like Twilight Princess. I mean, it goes along with Twilight. It's going to be a spiritual successor to Twilight Princess, kind of like Majora's Mask was Ocarina of Time. That theory. Maybe it's going to be like that. Who knows? Maybe it's not going to be that easy to implement it with Wii Motion Plus. Maybe it won't be that hard. We'll have to see. I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do with this game, especially with the Wii Motion Plus, to be honest. J. Gustavo Munaz asks, Axel, do you think Nintendo could make a new game accessory adapted for Zelda Wii gameplay? For example, the WiiWheel, Wii Speak, or WiiZapper? I don't think it's too likely. there's nothing in the game, or at least if it's going to follow Zelda tradition, unless they do something really, really weird. That's Nintendo's history, isn't it? I just don't think going with the Zelda norm, there's anything that really needs it. Everything can be handled with the Wiimote. I mean, if you stuck a sword onto the Wiimote for the sword play, it's not going to change anything. You just swing around the Wiimote just the same. At least the WiiWheel or the WiiZapper allowed you to hold it in a different way. In a way, it does kind of have a device that's the Wii Motion Plus, but I think that's all we're going to get. We're not going to see anything other than that. It would also make it really hard if they had, because it would have to be specialized. If you made one for the sword, for example, the bow would be awkward. If you made one for the bow, the sword would be awkward. Since if Link's going to have such an expansive inventory with a bunch of different items, or even if it's not that expansive, and he just has a couple specialized items, it's still going to make it hard to use some kind of weird peripheral like that. So I think we're just going to have the Wii Motion Plus and the standard device. Because can you imagine swinging a bow or aiming a sword? No. It's a way to make us look more like idiots in our living rooms. Bailey Durkin asks, hey, my question is, do you think that Zelda Wii will have a part where you will need to travel through time like Ocarina of Time? Doubtful. There was only two games in the series that used time travel, and that was Ocarina of Time, of course, and Oracle of Ages. And there's no real reason to suspect that they're going to use the time travel, themes again, in my opinion, at least. The only reason there would be to think that, in my opinion, is if you think the Hero of Time is going to appear again in this game. And some people have theorized that. Again, I don't see a lot of reason to suspect that either. So far, we know nothing about the game, and we certainly don't have much to suspect it's going to relate to Ocarina of Time. We have more reason to suspect it's going to relate to Twilight Princess, for example, despite the fact that they've directly said it's not going to be about Twilight Princess. I don't know. The time travel thing, it's been done. Oh, I guess there was in Majora's Mask too. Okay, 3 games that had time travel. My bad. That's kind of plenty. I think it'd start to turn Zelda into a time travel storyline as opposed to a general fantasy if they overuse the theme too much. I don't really want to see a sequel to Ocarina of Time or Oracle of Ages. I mean, I'd like to see a sequel to Majora's Mask, but I don't think a sequel would necessarily need to have, time travel themes. I don't know. Vanitas12 asks, do you think that the Master Sword will be a key element to the plot of Zelda Wii, or do you think that a totally new sword will be in its place, like the Four Sword did in Legend of Zelda Four Swords Adventures, or Minish Cap? Also, what do you think the Zelda Wii's official title will be? Miyamoto mentioned it would not have the Master Sword, I believe. He's not reliable necessarily on that, and I'm not sure if I heard it like that, but I kind of have it in my memory that he said something about there not being a Master Sword at all in this game. I don't know. Might not. It's, the Master Sword is kind of a major thing in the series. It'd be kind of weird not to see it. There was a rumor, not confirmed, that the girl in the artwork would speak through your sword, but she's not the Master Sword. I don't know how true that is. That sounds a little odd, but I don't really know. Maybe there'll be a new sword. They could have interesting gameplay themes, like with the Four Sword, like you mentioned. That would be pretty cool, especially if they had a lot of different swords. In fact, as I've mentioned, I theorize that they might have a lot of different weapons instead of just swords, like all kinds of weapons, like axes, spears, etc. So, maybe they'll go along with that. I don't really know. As for the title, I really don't know. I suspect that the game will have a bit... I don't know why, but I suspect the game might have a little less of a big epic feel, and maybe a little more of a focused storyline. I'm not sure what makes me think that, but for some reason I'm starting to get a vibe kind of like that. I don't really know. I can't tell you what the title is, but something along those lines, perhaps? Again, as the Master Sword, I don't really know if it will appear or not. It'd be interesting if it didn't, but it'd be also kind of weird if it didn't. So I can't really say for sure. What was the last time we didn't have the Master Sword? Probably Majora's Mask, right? First one I can think of. Or, of course, Minish Cap. Last question. Devil Hunter Dante asks, "What do you think Nintendo must do in order to make another revolutionary Zelda such as Ocarina of Time?" They can innovate to make more unique games, like have them, unique features and stuff. But other than that, to make something truly revolutionary, totally new, they're gonna have to have something brand new, something about the gameplay or the console or the way the game is played that is new. Maybe Zelda Wii will be like that with the Wii Motion Plus. Maybe it will revolutionize things. Or maybe we'll have to wait till we see something really crazy like virtual reality. But I think we're going to have to wait for something like that to see a revolutionary Zelda game. Not necessarily not a game that won't beat Ocarina of Time, but one that's revolutionary. Alright guys, that's it for this time, and be sure to send your questions in to the email address in the description for next week's mailbag. See you later, guys.